No DQ Galaxy. We are live with the NoDQ.com recap of Monday Night Raw for February the 21st, 2022. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership as always. We are coming off the 2022 Elimination Chamber Premium Live event. We had a recap of the show to start us off. And then we had the brand new WWE Champion Brock Lesnar show up for his celebration. He was quickly interrupted by his former manager, Paul Heyman. Lesnar joined in on the crowd's "You Suck" chant. Heyman said that he was out there because of 20 years of love between him and Brock Lesnar. He warned Lesnar that there is a roadblock on the way to WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar will have to defend his WWE Championship March 5th, Madison Square Garden live event. And Lesnar responded by saying that he appreciates Paul Heyman, even though Heyman can be such a dick. And that's the exact phrase that he used. Lesnar said he's doing fine without Heyman and warned Heyman that he will be on SmackDown to confront the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Nice little segment here to start off the show with some cowboy shiznit with Brock Lesnar. The announcers talked about how Bobby Lashley will be facing Brock Lesnar on March 5th at Madison Square Garden if Lashley can clear concussion protocol. Now, of course, Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley was announced, I think, a few weeks ago for Madison Square Garden, but Lashley apparently has an issue with his shoulder, might need surgery. He was getting that checked out. The announcers acted like it's unlikely Lashley will be available for that match on March 5th. We'll see what happens. Backstage, we had Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins interviewed for their main event match against RK-Bro. They are looking for a path to WrestleMania, and if they beat RK-Bro, in 2 weeks on Monday Night Raw, they will be added to a tag team title match, making it Owens and Rollins, along with RK-Bro, challenging the Alpha Academy for the titles. And Kevin Owens also took another shot at Texas, said that Dallas is a hellhole. Hamp Connell with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. Says, I know there's still 5 more weeks, but the vibe I'm getting from this show is that Stone Cold told them to forget it, which is not surprising. Well, you have to let it play out. We still have, like you said, 5 more weeks, and I could see this being dragged out a few more weeks before Austin shows up. But one would think that Austin will show up in a couple weeks, 2 weeks probably, because you do want those ticket sales to boost up before WrestleMania. And one would think that you would hype it up as much as possible instead of having Austin announced for a match at the last minute. Jose says tag title triple threat match should be booked for WrestleMania. Well, they're doing the tag title match in 2 weeks now. Could they end up doing like a 4-way tag match or something like that? Absolutely. Would not shock me at this point if that's what they did. We had our first match of the evening. We had the Street Profits taking on the Alpha Academy. And this match was a rematch from 2 weeks ago. You know, they like to do the rematches. Dawkins, not Ford, did a big dive onto both members of the Academy. And then the Academy worked over Ford for a while. Dawkins got a hot tag, got some offense, and then tagged back out to Ford. Ford attempted to body slam Otis, but was unsuccessful, and he fell to the ground, and Chad Gable grabbed Otis's foot, or not Otis's foot, grabbed the foot of Ford, allowing Otis to score the pinfall victory. Pretty standard tag team match here. Not a whole lot to say about it. It was fine, but pretty much any Raw tag team match you've ever seen. Backstage, we had we had Tommaso Ciampa interviewed, and he said that he's not feeling any pressure about having a tag team match on Raw and teaming up against Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode, because he has Finn Balor as his tag team partner. Now, I'm not exactly sure on this. Maybe Michael Wayne in the chat knows, or somebody does. The announcer said that this was Ciampa's first match on Raw. Now, I know that he was doing a few matches leading up to Survivor Series in 2019. I do not recall if he wrestled on Raw or not. He might have wrestled on SmackDown, but perhaps somebody in the chat room could clarify that for me. They did say this was Ciampa's first official match on Monday Night Raw. Very well could have been. Ciampa teaming up with Balor. Balor was out of action for a few weeks due to being taken out of action by Austin Theory a few weeks back. Colin Andrews says it wasn't his first match on Raw. And Hamp Connell says Adam Cole wrestled on SmackDown. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember if Ciampa wrestled on Raw or SmackDown. I thought he had a match before Survivor Series 2019. Anyways, if it wasn't his first match, it was his second or third match. One of his first matches on Raw. Colin Andrews says him and Gargano did team up on Raw. So there you go. We had some footage shown from NXT. WWE doing some promotion for NXT, hyping up Dolph Ziggler versus Ciampa on NXT this week, with the winner of that becoming the number one contender for the NXT title. Ziggler provided a distraction early. Ciampa was very much focused on Ziggler, and they worked together on Ciampa for a while. Finn Balor got a hot tag. Things broke down, and then Balor hit the sling blade, tagged Ciampa back in. Ciampa went for the fairy tale ending on Roode. Could not get it. However, Ciampa was able to turn that into a sunset flip pinfall combination and scored the 1-2-3 victory over Robert Roode, picking up some momentum heading into his match against Ziggler one-on-one during NXT. Hamp Connor with a $2 super chat says, I feel so sorry for Ziggler and Roode. Ziggler, I mean, it is what it is. Ziggler's just doing various things. And hey, Robert Roode's getting TV time. Better than nothing, right? And not everybody can get TV time. The fact that these guys are still getting TV time on a regular basis, you know what? Not too bad of a gig. We had The Miz come down to the ring for Miz TV to reveal his partner for WrestleMania. Miz issuing a challenge to the Mysterios for WrestleMania. But before I get to that, Dun Quinn sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Or Dane Quinn, excuse me, says KO Pen Challenge. Backstage, Vince tells Theory that it's his WrestleMania moment. They take a selfie and Austin is in the background. Glass shatters. Kevin Owens versus Austin. We'll see what happens with that. I'm not sure if they're going to do something backstage as far as revealing Austin. That sounds like something you do in front of the live crowd. But yeah, maybe they do some kind of swerve where at WrestleMania it's Kevin Owens versus Austin. KO thinks it's Austin Theory, but then it's Steve Austin. Little swerve there. Maybe we'll get that. Anyways, Miz talked about how his partner for WrestleMania is going to be somebody he can trust. Somebody who's a family man, who's a pioneer, who is dashing. Yes, a little reference to Cody Rhodes. And by the way, WWE's Twitter account was really having fun with the Cody Rhodes rumors, sending out several tweets during the day with little references to Cody Rhodes. At one point, there was a tweet about smoke and mirrors. We definitely got Cody references both online on WWE's Twitter account and on television. This first one from The Miz. And there was another one later, which we'll get to here in a few moments. So moving on here, the Mysterios came down to the ring, and it was not Cody Rhodes as the mystery man, but rather Logan Paul. Logan Paul, the YouTube celebrity. I'm not sure which one he is, if he's the guy that had that incident in Japan. Jake Paul's the boxer, right? I don't even know. I really don't care, but I will say this. He got some heat. He came to the ring, said he has bigger pool toys than Rey Mysterio. The Mysterios accepted the challenge. We had a big fight breakout, and The Miz hit the skull-crushing finale to Rey, and then Paul hit one to Dominic, and they were getting a lot of heat. I will give them that. Logan Paul and The Miz were getting some serious heat. I'm not sure what was up with Logan Paul's shoes. They were distracting me, but hey, they got some heat. And if you're going to bring in Logan Paul, I guess he should be a heel because a lot of people really don't like the guy. I guess it's something for The Miz to do. Mysterios, Dominic gets a spot at WrestleMania. You know what? I'm fine with it. I really don't have an issue with it. Joey Perez says it's the same guy that did that video in Japan. Well, thank you for that. I figured it was, and Jake Paul is the one that does the boxing. We had the Alpha Academy backstage. They were upset about Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens getting a possible match. And, you know, Chad Gable did some Steiner math saying that if Rollins and Owens get added to the match, their chances of winning drastically go down from 50% to 33.33%. Otis doesn't like math. Guess he's not a big Scott Steiner fan then, I reckon. We had Rhea Ripley versus Nikki Ash for the 500th time. Nikki was rambling about being a superhero, yelling at Rhea, and they had this match. Rhea pretty much dominated it, did the delayed vertical suplex. Nikki was on the outside yelling at the announcer, saying that Rhea is the real villain. And she got in a little bit of offense, but not much. And Rhea Ripley picked up the win with the Riptide again. And we'll probably see them wrestle again in 3 weeks. Probably another 5 times before the summer. Would not shock me at this point. So, we had 24/7 champion Reggie come to the ring. Talked about how he doesn't expect any interruptions. He has something to say to Dana Brooke. She came down to the ring, and the crowd was doing the what chants. Reggie apologized, brought a referee down, and said that he was going to lay down and give her the championship back, but then he swerved her. He kicked out not once, but twice. And then on the third attempt, she kissed him to distract him. And he was, in fact, distracted. She won the championship back. R-Truth and the Mob ran down. Tozawa got on the apron. He got knocked off into Tamina's arms. He went for a kiss, and he got dropped. And then they chased off Reggie and Dana Brooke as they ran off. So this love storyline, I guess, continues. Whatever. I mean, I'm way past even caring about these segments. Who is more over, Reggie or Crash Holly? I think Crash Holly for sure, because when he was doing it, it was an original concept, and they didn't run it into the ground for 2 years. We had Damian Priest versus Shelton Benjamin, along with Cedric Alexander at ringside. Cedric Alexander took a cheap shot and was interfering during the match. Got on the apron at one point. He got knocked off by Priest. Benjamin hit his T-bone suplex into a slam, but Priest kicked out of that. And then Priest picked up the win with the Reckoning and then got on the mic, said that he praised Benjamin for fighting like a man, but he wants a WrestleMania caliber opponent next week. He wants somebody of world title caliber to challenge him. And out came Finn Balor, who was in a match earlier. Finn Balor accepted the challenge, and that match will take place on next week's show. As Michael Wayne pointed out, Damian Priest getting more and more boos. So I wonder if we're getting a full-blown heel turn from him and maybe some kind of screw job next week. Maybe we get Balor versus Priest at WrestleMania. That's what I'm thinking. I feel like after Raw, we have a pretty good idea where things are going now for some of these key matches. And I could see some kind of screw job next week. Maybe Balor even busts out the demon for WrestleMania to fight Damian Priest. Hey, that might be interesting. So that should be a good one next week. And if they continue for WrestleMania, that's fine. We had Bianca Bel-Air come into the ring for a promo. She won at Elimination Chamber, of course. Her versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania is set. And she cut this promo, but was interrupted by Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch said, "Welcome back to the big time." And they went back and forth here. Becky said Bianca only main evented WrestleMania because she did it first. Bianca said she did it better. And Becky brought up beating Bianca in 26 seconds at SummerSlam. Bianca said she's not a victim. Becky said that she is the victim, not Bianca, because it's due to Bianca that fans turned against Becky at SummerSlam. And Becky said that she likes Lita. And Bianca saw what happened to Lita. Imagine what's going to happen to somebody that Becky doesn't like. Bianca then said she'll make Becky the victim. And that's when Dewdrop finally arrived. And we had a one-on-one match for the 587th time. Becky Lynch at commentary desk. We had Bianca Belair versus Dewdrop. Mo Camera with a $2.79 super chat says, "Getting sick of the Roman Reigns agenda, enough already." Thank you for that, Mo Camera. We'll move on here. Walter Cruz with a $2 super chat says, "A match between two people with split personalities." Yes, Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. They both got their little alter egos. I'm fine with that. I think it's a good WrestleMania match if they end up going with that. Balor can go for the U.S. title. Gives him something to do. So anyways, Dewdrop versus Bianca Belair. Remember when they had the final chapter back in December? I guess this is the new beginning for Dewdrop and Bianca Belair. And maybe Dewdrop Lives will be their next rematch in a couple of months. And then they'll have the New Blood in July. And then maybe if they do a show in New York, Dewdrop takes Manhattan. They can just keep this going for the rest of 2022. So it was a good match, though. I mean, it was the same song and dance, but it was good. These two always have a good match, and the crowd always eats up Bianca doing the power moves to Dewdrop. She did a power bomb out of the corner, and then hit a suplex, hit a spine buster, and finally Bianca got the KOD, and I think this was maybe the most impressive one that she's done. She held her up there for a while. Crowd loved it. They were hot for the finish, so you know what? Cool. You build up Bianca. It works. I'm just feeling like they need to stop doing the same thing constantly. It's like it gets to the point where we've seen it too many times. I remember John Cena doing the F5, or not the F5, the FU, the attitude adjust, can't even say it, attitude adjustment. He did that to Big Show all those times. And the announcers were always saying, oh my God, I can't believe John Cena got up the Big Show for the AA. And I'm thinking, we've seen it like a dozen times. It's nothing special anymore. And that's how I'm starting to feel about Bianca with the KOD. If you want to do it at the house shows every week, fine. But on TV, we've seen it now a couple of times. We don't need to see it anymore. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, whatever happened to local jobber squash matches? Your guess is as good as mine. I think they should do them more often, but they like to just do rematches. That's their thing. So we had Edge come down to the ring for a promo to hype up WrestleMania. He brought up WrestleMania 3, how Hulk Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant, and we got the piped in cheers, the very obvious piped in cheers. But this was a really good promo from Edge. Edge did a great job here, other than WWE piping in the cheers. I enjoyed this little segment here. Edge talked about his history at WrestleMania, outdoing himself every year, busting his ass for 10 years to get back to WrestleMania after the injury, and said he's looking to main event again. Well, I mean, he did main event last year, but he's looking to do something phenomenal at this year's WrestleMania. That was one tease, but he also talked about fighting his inner demon, which I guess could also be a Finn Balor reference. And then we got another Cody reference. He mentioned being undeniable, which was a line that Cody used back in 2019 to set up the Full Gear match with Chris Jericho, when he said he went from being undesirable to ungoddamn deniable. And that was a fantastic promo. One of the best AEW promos ever. Great promo from Cody Rhodes back then. So that was a nice little reference to Cody as well. And Edge was laying down the challenge. WrestleMania cannot be stupendous without him. And he said whoever fights him, he'll make them live forever, which I think is also a Balor reference. Correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, a lot of interesting possibilities. I'm thinking it's going to be Edge versus AJ Styles. To me, that's what makes the most sense. And I'll tell you why. Because you got Damian Priest and Finn Balor. They seem to be paired up. That seems like a good pairing. Seth Rollins. If Cody Rhodes is coming in, I'm thinking Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes is a good WrestleMania match. That would be a nice first big match for Cody coming back up against Seth Rollins. And Kevin Owens probably being paired with Steve Austin, whether it's a match or some kind of segment. We had our main event of the evening, RK-Bro versus Seth Rollins, Seth freaking Rollins, and Kevin Owens. Alpha Academy was watching. A good main event match here, but kind of follows the tag team match template where one guy gets worked over for a while. In this case, Riddle. He got hit with a swanton by Owens, got hit with a frog splash from Rollins, but he kicked out. And then he somehow managed to tag in Orton. Orton cleaned house, and then Riddle tagged back in. Notice this, the guy that gets beat on for a while, he tags out, hot tag is made, and then the guy that was getting beat up gets tagged back in and then takes the fall. We saw that twice on this show, and it's kind of a pattern with WWE tag team matches. So you had Riddle tagged back in. He hit the floating bro to Owens, but then Rollins tagged back in. Rollins had taken out Orton with a curb stomp on the outside, and Rollins hit the buckle bomb. Owens hit the stunner, and then Rollins finished off Riddle with the curb stomp. picked up the 1-2-3 victory, and that means Rollins and Owens will get tag team title opportunities in 2 weeks against the Champs Alpha Academy and RK-Bro. And I suppose we'll see if in 2 weeks that's when Steve Austin makes his return. Real quick, somebody pull up for me where Raw is in 2 weeks. I'm just curious. I know WWE has a show coming up in Chicago, but that's really close to WrestleMania. I know that would be a great time to bring back Austin or bring back Cody Rhodes, but it is very close to the WrestleMania pay-per-view or premium live event, excuse me. So I'm wondering if one or both of those guys will show up sooner than that. Cleveland, Ohio. Thank you for that, Michael Wayne. Might be a good place for Austin. Austin's had some history in Cleveland. Some big matches. I believe that's where he beat Kane to regain the title in June of '98. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But I know Cleveland has had some big moments. Invasion, 2001. Yeah, Cleveland might be a good city for Austin to return. Anyways, Raw was pretty solid. I would say somewhat recommend. It wasn't a must-see show. It was pretty standard. Solid build-up for WrestleMania, but they're just starting with it. This was like a starting point. What's kind of sad about this week's Raw is that this was episode number 1,500 of Raw, and WWE did absolutely nothing to promote it as being episode 1,500. Nothing. Like, that's crazy to me that they didn't really do anything to hype up this week's Raw. And also they were returning to the USA Network after being on Sci-Fi for 2 weeks. One would think that they would have promoted the hell out of this week's show coming off Elimination Chamber. So it kind of just felt like a standard Raw, maybe a little bit more noteworthy than usual because of the WrestleMania build. But, you know, there's still several matches they haven't set up. Really, the biggest thing on this show was the Logan Paul angle as far as setting up WrestleMania matches go. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat, thank you, says, are you looking forward to Roman 2 belts post-WrestleMania? Well, I'm thinking maybe it only lasts one night. I did put out a tweet on Monday afternoon about maybe Cody Rhodes wins the WWE title from Roman Reigns the night after WrestleMania. And you get the WWE title back on Raw. Cody is established as a top guy, and it sends a message to people in AEW. Cody Rhodes went to WWE, bet on himself, and won the WWE title. And you take Cody Rhodes to that next level. Roman Reigns is still your Universal Champion, and he still has that streak going. And you get that huge crowd pop night after WrestleMania. Those shows used to be epic, and that would be something pretty epic. Walter Cruz with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Walter. Says, best breakup ever was the Mega Powers. They should build the RK-Bro breakup just as good. Take a year or so. That was long-term storytelling. Well, at this point, they might as well wait it out. I thought they were going to break them up for WrestleMania, but they didn't. Maybe SummerSlam. I don't know if I would wait another year with RK-Bro, but perhaps SummerSlam, you could set something up with them. Yeah, this show would be a somewhat recommend. I'd probably give it a B- or a C+. It wasn't bad. It was a fairly decent show, but not something you would have to really go out of your way to watch. I mean, I would definitely recommend the Logan Paul segment just so you see the build up for it. And then the Edge promo. And the main event was pretty solid too. Hemp Kano with a $5 super chat says, doesn't Fox want exclusive Roman Reigns rights? How can they unify the belts with that? He can't be on Raw. I don't think that that's something that necessarily has to be a thing. I think that's more WWE wanting to make Fox happy, and Fox is kind of the main group that WWE needs to please and make them happy because they're paying the most money out. But I'm not thinking we're getting unification. I would personally like it. I've been saying this for the longest time. I would prefer that some of these titles got merged, and you could still keep the brand extension, but merge some of the titles. I don't think they're going to do it though. But like I said, I think there's an opportunity. Roman Reigns wins at WrestleMania and then drops the title, the WWE title on Raw night after WrestleMania with that big crowd. You get that huge reaction, and you can really create a very memorable moment. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I really do appreciate your viewership and support as always. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest, as we are now fully on the road to WrestleMania. Take care, everybody. Enjoy your week. And remember to say yes to NoDQ.com. See you guys next time.